Well, guess what tomorrow is? Tomorrow will be the announcements for Group B. And I can't wait to see what NVDY and PLTY will pay out. And we'll also take a look to see where my swing trades are sitting and where a couple of the other YieldMax ETFs are currently. Hello my friends, this is Legend. So tomorrow morning they will announce the Group B distributions. And in Group B I have NVDY and PLTY, so I'm looking forward to that. And of course we always know that every week we get the announcement for the weekly pairs as well. And I have ULTY and YieldMax in those. Now if you ever wonder which group is paying out what day, well, when you go to the YieldMax distribution schedule here, and to find that I'll just go back to the home page and I'll just show you where you actually go to find it, right? So from the YieldMaxETFs.com website, you go and you can scroll all the way down to the bottom and there is a distribution schedule right here. You can click that. And then this will take you to that distribution schedule sheet. Now, if you want to know which group is going to pay out this week, then you can simply just scroll right down here. And this is the distribution schedule for the weekly pairs and Group A, Group B, C, and D, right? We know the X date here will be Thursday, right? And that will be 9/11. So let's just scroll right on down till we find 9/11. And here we are on 9/11 right here. And as you can see, we have our weekly pairs and Group B. And that's right here, right? Weekly pairs and Group B. So we know that Group B will be paying out this week. So if you ever get mixed up of which group is paying out what week, you can always look right there on the website. They give a nice little distribution schedule where you can look at and find out which group is paying out what day. And then scrolling on down, you can see then they break out the different groups and it shows which ETFs are in which group. As you can see, here's the weekly pairs, here's the Group A, Group B, Group C, and then of course Group D, and that's where MSTY lives, in Group D. So this week will be Group B, and that's where the NVDY and PLTY will be announcing their distributions this week. So we'll see what they're going to pay out tomorrow. So let's just jump right over here to the Webull chart. So I've got PLTY pulled up right here, and let's just take a quick look at this. As you can see, I do have the actual moving candles turned on. So you can see that it is somewhat trading within a range right here. And also, since it will be going X this week, let's just take a look at what my guesstimate is for the distribution on PLTY. So we're looking at my guesstimate sheet here. And for this one, since it did move so much, I mean, it went from our $2 distribution 2 distributions ago to about $7 for this last distribution, it's hard to decide what that rate of change would be. So I just have it at a 0 change. So I'm coming up with about a rough $5.75 per share for the distribution of PLTY. So that's my guesstimate of about $5.75 for the distribution. As you can see, I do have a total of about 37 shares, and my average cost is $60.67, and that's my purchase average cost, not my adjusted average cost. And we'll take a look at that at another day. So let's just move right over to NVDY. Here we are on NVDY. And you can see I have 71 shares of NVDY at $25.17. And that's my purchase cost, not my adjusted cost, right? It has been trading down a little bit too. It had that drop and then it did move down a bit more. And for NVDY, I'm guesstimating about 88 cents for NVDY. And that's my guesstimate for the distribution announcement that will come out tomorrow for NVDY. So those are the two that I'm looking at for this week with Group B. So hopefully, I'm low, right? And that we get some nice distributions again this week. But we shall see. So 88 cent distribution for NVDY here. That'll bring it down roughly about $1, right? So we'll say it'll take it down to about $15.50. And that would make sense, right? And for PLTY, that would be dropping about $5. So that would take it down to about $57. And we've been as low as about 54. So that might not be too bad of a guesstimate there as well. But again, we'll see. And here we are on MSTY. And as you can see, MSTY is for the last few days here just kind of hanging out, right? It's hanging out around that 1530 to 15 even to 1550, that area there. It'll move up and then all of a sudden it's moving back down because Mr. is moving down. As you can see right here on Mr., it's also moving down. But it is trying to find a floor. That's at least what I'm hoping for, right? Find that floor and then start moving back up above that MA200 right here. That would be great. But of course, if we take a look at Bitcoin here, you can see Bitcoin had a nice run up today and then it just pulled right on back. It went as high as about 113.3 and then pulled back as low as 110, and we're currently at around about a 111.6 right now. We did get that cross up, but if you can see and notice, it is still somewhat just trying to get above this resistance area right in here. Seems to get up about to that area and then gets pushed right back down. So it looks like around that 113 is a bit of a resistance. So that's something to look forward to. If we can get above that 113, hopefully we can move it on up. And if we move that up, of course, then we can start moving Mr. up as well. At least that's my hope, right? Because if Mr. can start moving back up, so will our MSTY. Now let's move over to ULTY. And you can see on ULTY, we did have a little bit of a green candle today. I do have a buy order out there for about 530 because this was moving on down. So I have another buy order at 530 if it decides to have a little crash and then a pop up. And if it does, it'll hopefully grab my buy order right there at that 530 and help average my shares down. That would be awesome. And then move back up. Oh yeah. But currently we are on a small little move up, right? But I'll take it. We are sitting at about 558 currently. We've been as low as 539, but I think we're getting ready to hit a little bit of a resistance right here. As you can see, where both of these candles right here did touch, and it did touch over here and here as well. So I think right where it's at is a bit of a resistance. We'll see. Can we break above that 560? That would be awesome to see. The MACD is turning up sharply right here, so hopefully we can get a nice little cross up if we can get that momentum to move to the green. But I'm not too worried about ULTY or MSTY personally, as my average price for ULTY being 566 at 100 shares. I'm pretty close to the current price. So not worried about that at all. And I'm earning those distributions, which is bringing that average down even further. And if it wants to come on down, I'll be able to pick up some shares at 530, and I would be all over that. Let's check out some of my swing trades. I still do have the two that we've been tracking and the two new ones that I did open. And I also did sell a put on SPY today and was hoping to get assigned, but of course I did not. So we'll go a little bit more in depth on that one toward the end. So let's just go ahead and let's look at Coca-Cola first. Here we are on Coca-Cola. As you can see, we were coming down. I was buying, right? I bought both of those. And then we had a nice green candle today. We ended up closing at 67.86. I have an average of 68.33. So I am just above that current price. So I'm not hating that at all. And if it did drop back down, I've got a buy order for 2 more shares at 67 even. As you never know after market hours, if it would happen to drop down quickly, I could get picked up at that 67 and then it'll pop right back up. So I don't want to miss out if that does happen. That'll pick me up 2 more shares and that'll bring that average price down even further. So right now I do not have a stop on this one. I am still in the waiting stage and buying stage. Now let's take a look at Walmart. And for Walmart here, this one I have 5 shares at $96 even, as it's shown right here in the box. And for this one, I did set my stop limit. I originally had it set back here, and I've been moving it up daily, right? Well, yesterday we had it set at that 98.26, and today, since we did have a green candle, I went ahead and moved it up this morning to 99.14. And because of this big move, and we're still moving on up, if we get another green candle tomorrow, I'll take it from that 99.14 and I'll move it right there to $100.20. So I'm just moving it right up this green MA5. And if it does decide to come back down and kick me out and then take off, so be it. It's just the price of playing. But the way it sits right now, with my purchase at 96 and my stop at 99, I'm looking at making $3 per share. Not too shabby at all, right? Not too shabby. So that's what's going on with Walmart. And as far as Duke Energy, for this one, I was buying, right? As it was falling, I was buying. And it looks like it wants to try to level off a little bit right here. It may come on back down some. I may put a buy order in there, especially if it's coming down further, as that can definitely help to lower my cost average. But I do not necessarily want to buy above my cost right here at 120.28. And that's just simply because for this one, it is more of a short term for me, right? It's an in and out thing. Now, I could be in it for a while, right? Waiting for that price to turn around. But I don't necessarily want to average up. I always want to average down on my swing plays here. So right now with the close of 120.38 and my buy average at 120.28, I'm not necessarily purchasing at the moment. So I will keep my 4 shares currently at that 120.28, and we'll look to see if this is going to give us a green candle tomorrow and we can start moving up. As you can see, that green candle here, if I zoom in, you can see it has that long wick on top. Of course, that's not the best sign, right? That's a very bearish sign, but it did cross over that MA5. So I'm hoping that we're finding a little bit of a floor here and we can start moving this back on up, get a candle to live above that MA5 line, which is that green line, set my stop at hopefully around 121, and hopefully continually to ride this one on back up or to get stopped out with a small profit. That's okay too. But for now, this one is still just a hold. And here we are on Visa. Now, Visa is one of the new ones that I also opened up the other day. We had that big candle drop right there, hit that MA200 and bounced off of it. The next day we came down, we got close to bouncing off of it again and went up, and then had a little bit of an indecision, right? Got that small, thin body right there, kind of a doji candle, right? We've got the wick on top and you got the wick on bottom. A little bit of an indecision, but they definitely made their decision today by giving us that nice green candle. Now, it did have a long wick on top, which could mean that there's a lot of sellers up in this area too. So it's got some battles, right? It's got a fight to get on up there. But I do like the fact that it is still somewhat trying to respect this MA200. Not saying that it will continue to bounce off of it, but so far in the last few days here, it has respected it. So I'm hoping to see this one to move on back up, get back up round to this top area right in here, and that would put it around about 353. And at that point, I would have my stop somewhere around the MA5 right here at 346 and hopefully riding it on up further. So that's kind of the idea there. But we may be seeing a little bit more of a pullback on Visa, but only time will tell. But as we looked the other day, we saw that it most of the time stays above that MA200. So therefore, I am not too worried about this one either. Now for fun, I ended up selling a put on SPY, and we're looking at SPY right now. And what I did is I sold a 0 DTE, and that's 0 days till expire, when it did end up coming down. Now you can see it's actually a green candle, right? And normally you would not sell a put on a green day. But the thing you do have to realize, even though this shows as a green candle, if we look at the 5-minute chart and we zoom back to right here, and you can see the first part of the morning, it was just staying right here in this comfy zone between these two white lines right here. And that's this little comfy zone, right? It likes to stay right there. And how I'm drawing those is just simple. I'm just drawing from the bottom right here to the top right here. And all that is the high and low of the past little bit right here, right? So I'll just look and say, okay, well, it looks like it topped out right here. I'll draw my line. It looks like it bottomed out right here. I draw my little line. So that's the most recent high and low, right? Within the last few time frames. So I have that one, and I call that my little comfy zone. Then if I zoom out a little bit more, you can see I have this green line and I've got this red line. And if I zoom on back, that green line and red line is actually the high and the low of the day before. And that is of the trading day hours. And as you can see right here, I've got that high right there, and I'm calling out the low right there. And that, of course, extends all the way across. And now that gives me my high and low of yesterday's trading period. So zooming back in on today right here, you can see it was just kind of basically staying right here in this comfy zone, right? It's funny how you draw the lines and it just seems to want to respect them a little bit, right? Right here, it actually came down and touched it and bounced off of it. Right up here, it went up, touched it, and then came back down from it, because it likes to stay right here. And that's the reason I like to call it my comfy zone. But what happened right here? It broke through, and boy, it broke through hard, right? And when it fell all the way down to about 647.50, right? And then the next candle, it fell even further. It ended up going as low as about 647.22. Now, when I saw this red candle, and this one here is about the point where I actually saw it. As you can see, this little bell right here, I had a notification set at 6:48. And that just basically will notify me if the stock drops below 6:48, then it will notify me. And it did. Right there is the 6:48 right here. And when it dropped, it notified me, right? Well, by the time I had a chance to look at it, it was already about right in this area right here. So I went ahead and I jumped on, and I went ahead and I set a 646 put, right? Now I could have done an even 647 because that would have put me just below the low of yesterday. But I wanted to be just a tad bit more safe, right? Because you don't know what's going on. You don't know at what point we're actually going to start pulling back, because we are hitting very close to the all-time highs yet again, right? So when you see this, you can't help to think, let me put a little bit more safety on it. So I ended up putting just a little bit more safety, and I put on a put, and I sold that put for 646. And what that means is I am willing to buy 100 shares at 646 if the SPY drops below and ends the day below 646, right? Because this is a 0 DTE, I don't see me getting exercised early, because you open it and you close it on the same day. And that's what 0 DTE means, or 0 days to expire. That is basically a day trade, right? So for doing that, I ended up getting a $55 premium for selling that put, and that put me down here, right? So if this thing was going to drop and then it would have broke through this point, which is yesterday's low, and move on down, and say then it closed at 645.50 or whatever, then I would have been put those shares and it would have assigned me 100 shares at 646. Well, at that point, then next day, being tomorrow, I would be looking to sell a call above that 646. And what you would love for it to happen is overnight, say it moves from that 645.50 up to say 650, something like that, and then you sell a call at really close to that price, right? I would sell that call at 651, earn a very nice high premium, and if I did get called away, what a move on the appreciation, right? Because that would be me purchasing at 646. It went to 651. That's $5 per share, 100 shares. That's $500 in one day. Not too shabby at all. But since it did not, it ended up going up. And it ended up closing at 650.33. And since I had a put at 646, it did not go down and stay down below that. Therefore, that put option did expire worthless. I keep the $55. I always keep all the premium, right? You get to keep all the premium no matter what. You get assigned the shares, you still have your premium. You just also have the 100 shares. If you don't get assigned the shares, you still keep the premium and the contract just expires worthless, meaning the contract closes and it is no longer valid. So you would just look to do it again tomorrow. Now, like I said, I do want to do it when it's moving down, preferably on a red day. And since it did end up closing the day before at 648.83, and when I looked at it, it was around 647, and therefore that made this a red number. So it was a red moment in time when I ended up selling that put. It's just when you're selling the put and it's moving down, you're going to get paid higher premium because the chances of you getting assigned does increase, right? So that's basically what I'm doing on the SPY. I am doing a little bit of day trading on that one. Now, I'm not buying the options. I am selling them because I'm also looking to get assigned so that I can get on the other side of the trade, sell the call, and earn that price appreciation. So anyway, I'm really enjoying this for the SPY. It's a lot of fun. And when you're using a stock like SPY, and when you're looking at the chart and you see it overall, it is staying above it like this, you don't mind being assigned, right? Now, it could come on down. That is correct. I could be holding this one for a while. That is correct. If we have a pullback, I could be stuck up here on the top. That is correct. But if you always worry about stuff like that and you never take a chance, then you are cutting into your potential wins, right? Now, it is risk involved. Any stock ETF or even crypto that you would get into, there is risk involved. So always make sure that you do not invest more than you're willing to lose. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. If you don't mind hitting that subscribe button, smash the like button. It'd be much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, legend out.